Hey everybody, I just want to make a quick video to explain a little bit of the biology behind ME/CFS and some possible treatments they're working on. I'm going to be going to Stanford pretty soon for some clinical trials and to get blood, and they might try some of this on me, so it will be interesting. So let's get to the video. Before I start, remember I'm talking about like clinical grade ME/CFS, not functional medical abnormalities where you have what appears to be chronic fatigue or even a psychosomatic disorder. Probably not many people have those, but I'm talking about, really horrible ME/CFS that makes thousands of people commit suicide every year and stuff. So this may not apply to you if you have just general really bad fatigue and you haven't been diagnosed, but it might apply to you very much. So let's get to it and I'll give you some solutions. ME/CFS is a disease of hypometabolism. Um, I can confirm all the sources, like all the best sources have said this. So the guys at Stanford, like Ron Davis and his team, guys at UCSD, these guys up in Norway, like Dr. Flug. This is a paper I read by him. And the heart of the whole disease comes down to two things. Ready? So here we are. And I'll explain the heart of the disease, what they think is driving it. They're not 100% sure, but they're about 99% sure these two things are driving it. So I can't talk. Cellular respiration is where basically glucose and stuff from our food gets turned into fuel. There's three parts. Two parts happen inside the mitochondria. So the first part happens in the cytoplasm, or just inside the cell, and it's actually, they think it's totally shut down. It's crazy. We all get blood tests and stuff and they don't find anything, but they did a test called a metabolomics test on many people, many times, in many places, and they're always just obliterated in ME/CFS and really messed up. So what's going on? The first step, glycolysis, is totally shut down. They think what is driving it is pyruvate kinase. Pyruvate dehydrogenase are inhibited and not functioning correctly. And what does that do? Well, right after that, we go inside the mitochondria. So this feeds into the mitochondria, which is the cell's powerhouse. It's like almost like the engine or something. And this is called, you can call it the TCA or the citric acid cycle or the Krebs cycle, whatever. But this is, where a lot of ATP gets made, and it's totally messed up, like just totally out of whack because it's not getting fed the right fuel, because the step right here, glycolysis, is getting shut down, so this is not happening. Then we move on to the electron transport chain, which is the last part. It's totally messed up too, but more than just these 2 out of 3 things. I'm sorry, 3 out of 3 are messed up. All these other pathways get messed up because all these things are very interconnected. When one thing gets messed up, a lot of things get messed up. So one thing all these scientists are working on really, really hard is how to get these things working again. It's not easy. It's a molecular disease. It's not a disease of nutrition or a functional medical abnormality like MTHFR or a methylation. I can't talk. You know what I'm saying? Methylation problem, or it has to do with a vegan diet or something. That's not ME/CFS. That's just fatigue. These two things are driving it, and they're sadistic. Okay, so we have a lack of ATP, among other things. What does that do? Well, obviously you're not going to have the fuel you need, because just like cars run on gasoline, cells run on ATP. So you just don't have the fuel. And then also, ATP does all kinds of things, like it can modulate immune functions, I think. Remember, your brain cells, your neurons need ATP to run. And this is getting all theoretical, but I think this could cause some dysfunctions neurologically, perhaps, like some of the brain fog. There's just so many things. So let's move on to something else real quick. This is a great paper about pyruvate dehydrogenase being inhibited that they found. So let's talk about some of the metabolic features. They found so many things messed up, over 20 metabolic pathways that were just really, really not doing so good. They didn't find 2 or 3, they found 20, over 20, or I guess 20. So let's just pick sphingolipids. That's one thing that got really messed up. And I think they have, one thing they do is they help like neuronal cells communicate, I guess. I don't quite understand yet, but we'll talk about this. So some things were just in females, some things just in males, some were in males and females. Sphingolipids were in males and females, and they were number one. They were the worst of them all. And you can see them right there as number one, even though my phone is not good. So there are many implications from this. Too soon to talk about it, but for example, they think there is a big connection between sphingolipids being messed up and endogenous major depression. Not secondary depression, where it's like your life sucks and nobody understands you and it makes you feel depressed, but I'm saying like the chemicals in your brain being messed up. And I think it could even result in it being kind of refractory sometimes, or really hard to treat, because there's this underlying thing going on and it could make medicines not even work. So that's certainly happened to me. I've been studying up on this. It's a bit confusing now. Okay, so let's talk about something else. There is an autoimmune component. Yep, they found autoantibodies. They're still in the research process, of course, but autoimmune component, not good. They don't think it's in everybody, but they did find autoantibodies, so that's just disastrous. Okay, what else can we talk about? I'll just talk about one or two more things because this video is getting so long. But what are these papers about? Oh, really quick, the mitochondria in ME/CFS is not damaged. I don't know why people have been saying that. This paper talks about that. Ron Davis talks about that, saying again, they're just not getting the fuel they need. The fuel's not getting fed in, and they can't do their job, but they're not damaged. This book is a medical textbook about ME/CFS. So it's the same thing. But what else? Oh, let's talk about one last thing. So in the brain, there are these little glia cells, which are kind of like supporting cells, called microglia. They have to do with basically being the central nervous system's immune system, but they just go crazy in ME/CFS, they think. They think they're just like really, really activated, like, and they should not be in. I think it helps make us feel really sick because they release pro-inflammatory cytokines, which are proteins that are chemical messengers, and basically they make you feel really sick, achy, tired. They can make you feel depressed. They can suppress neuroplasticity in the brain and the hippocampus, and I think that in turn can lead to depression because BDNF gets attenuated. Okay, I'm getting too complicated, but yeah, so that's another thing. A lot of neuroinflammation is going on in this disease, but they're working on treatments to calm down the microglia. It has to do with a receptor they found called, what's it called? I think it's called TOLIC4 receptor, or 4-TOLIC receptor. I think it's TOLIC4. So the scientists found this, and they're making drugs to target it. And when you target it, the receptor is like a, like a lock, and the medicine is like a key. It goes in there, and then I guess it calms down the microglia and it makes us feel better. So they're working on that. But now of course let's talk about treatments. Of course there are no cures for ME/CFS, just like there's not any for Huntington's disease or HIV. There's probably not going to be any for a long time, and we just have to accept that, even though it sucks. It's a molecular disease. It's not a functional medical abnormality. It's not. It's insanely complicated. They have some of the smartest guys in the world working on this, and they're still baffled by it, but they're making progress. So what are some real good treatments they're going to do? Or actually, they're trying right now. Okay. First thing is an anti-cancer drug, rituximab. I might even end up getting this, who knows, but apparently it's like, it reverses a lot of this. It's like really, really helpful. It's an awesome treatment. Another treatment is antipyrenergics. They're working on that. I think it may be UCSD. It's in clinical trials, but they think it's going to be really helpful. Another thing is low-dose naltrexone, because I think it goes into those TOLIC4 receptors in the microglia, calms them down, you feel better, less cytokines and stuff, less neuroinflammation. Perhaps clinical low doses of ketamine might be useful, but that's too soon to talk about that. They think low dose dextromethorphan might be helpful. They're working on that. Now let's just talk about more accessible over the counter things. Um, so basically, you can mess around with supplements that support mitochondria and cellular respiration. Those can help. But there are some supplements that actually calm down the microglia. I listened to a guy named Dr. Jared Younger speak about this, and they are curcumin, stinging nettle, and the last one is, I think it's called reversatrol or resveratrol, something like that. Those are some real serious supplements that are supposed to help. But those are just a few things. It's so complex and there's so much to it. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. This is just a nasty, sadistic disease. The suicide rate is so high from it. It just breaks my heart pretty much. But there's plenty of hope, and I'll let you know how the clinical trials go and stuff. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.